Hello and welcome to a China Mining Club video with me, Ollie O'Donnell, Head of Research at VSA Capital. I'm extremely pleased today to be joined by Peter Secker, Chief Executive of Bacanora Lithium. Peter, how are you doing?
Morning, Ollie. I'm very well, thank you. We've had a fairly hectic couple of weeks, but we've now moved out of the financing stage and into the project development stage. So yes, a very good start to the new year.
Yeah, I imagine you're very well. You've had a pretty good few months with some big developments, and now you are funded to become one of the next lithium mines into production, and the lithium price is obviously rising strongly. So sentiment in the sector is fantastic.
Yeah, we've had some very supportive shareholders over the years, and obviously very happy that they could continue to be involved in the financing. We brought in some new shareholders out of Europe and the US. But yes, good support. As you say, the lithium market has come back strongly after COVID. Demand is looking very strong. So a good time to be building a lithium project and bringing a new mine and processing facility into production.
Yeah, why don't you just walk us through the deal that you've just completed, and then tell us how that changes the timetable for development. Okay.
Well, the deal is that we announced a couple of months ago that Ganfeng was moving and increasing their equity at the project level. So we've consummated the deal where it's now a 50-50 joint venture with Ganfeng in Sonora. Ganfeng is providing the technology and providing engineering for the lithium plant, and Bacanora will be the operator of the project post-construction. So we have a strong relationship with Ganfeng. Obviously, they bring a lot of credibility both to the project and also to the technical side of producing a battery-grade product. So that's gone very well. As a result of that increase, we went out to the market and we raised $65 million as equity into Bacanora. And in addition to that, Ganfeng have indicated that they will increase their shareholding and they will move back to being a 28.8% shareholder. So at the end of the day, we will have raised almost $100 million. And when you combine that with the debt financing that we've already done, then we are now fully financed for our 50% of the project construction through commissioning and into positive cash flow. So yes, we can say we're fully financed. We've moved out of being an exploration company and we're now very firmly a development company.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And you've already mentioned, you've already announced that earthworks have started. So what is the timetable over, the near term and also to 2023?
Yes, I mean, the first stage is to prepare the site. So we've mobilized people to site to clear the surface vegetation and stockpile that, and obviously also to then start preparation for the bulk earthworks. We're working very closely with the local communities, and most of the people on site are from the local area. So we're trying to strengthen that relationship with communities in the area. The next stage will be to upgrade access roads. We have access roads to site. We have to make sure they're capable of taking heavy equipment. And we're moving towards being able to start construction in the third quarter of this year. And then construction will start off with bulk earthworks. That's about a 3-month process. And then we have to pour the foundations and the bulk concrete, which will take us through to the end of the year. So by the end of the year, we would like to be in a position whereby we can start installing equipment. So our construction term has always been 2 years. So we'll schedule to start middle of 2021, which means that we'll be commissioning the plants producing first lithium mid-2023.
Yeah, and you mentioned briefly there that you're planning to use locals where you can to work. It's quite a remote project, but there are small villages close by. Sonora is, though, an industrial state, so there should be quite a lot of opportunity to benefit the local community with direct jobs as well as the indirect aspect. So how big an impact do you think you're going to have locally, and also what's been the impact of COVID on your timetable and also the way you're planning to work?
So obviously, as you say, Sonora is very much a mining state, one of the largest mining states in Mexico. So yes, a lot of expertise through mining and concentrating and processing and downstream production. So we think the majority of our workforce will come from Sonora, and then secondary from Mexico itself. So very much focused on a local workforce. And we'll also source a lot of our raw materials from the local state. So all the bulk concrete, all the bulk earthworks, all the basic engineering will be done locally. In terms of COVID, we've had to change our roster systems. We're working a longer system on site. So we're going to work a longer roster on site and then make sure that we test people before they go to site. So we'll be moving people into site in transport that's provided by us. So we make sure that we test them, that they're clear, and then they live on an isolated site. Obviously, we hope by the time we start most of the larger works, then there'll be more help from a vaccination system. But yes, we're taking all precautions to make sure that people who go to site have tested free from COVID. And on site, obviously, we'll have facilities that make sure that we can ensure that they are safe from distancing and make sure that all the work we do is able to mitigate and minimize the impact of the virus.
Yeah, and well, Ganfeng is now a $26 billion company, and they're going to be responsible for funding their side of the project. But what else is their role going to be over the next 2 years? I see in your most recent announcement that they're going to be delivering engineering packages, etc. So what can you say on that?
So they are engineering and designing the plant that produces the battery grade lithium. So we're very much tied to them technically. As you said, they are delivering those packages now. So where we stand with Ganfeng is they are going to go out to tender for the larger pieces of equipment in China, and we're going to look to source a lot of the equipment that we can't get in Mexico from China. Ganfeng have an engineering team in Argentina at the moment. They've been working on a lithium project down there, so the key people from there will move to Mexico towards the end of the year, and Ganfeng will work with Bacanora to basically build the lithium plant. And then post-construction, the Ganfeng team will be involved in commissioning. So working with Ganfeng, they provide a technology, they're providing engineering, we're working with them on equipment supplies, and they will then assist us and work with us on the commissioning of the plant to ramp it up to full production.
Brilliant. And they've got quite a lot of experience in this area and in clays, because they've also got an interest in lithium Americas. Yes,
they've worked on some of the clay deposits in Nevada. Obviously, they have a multitude of operations in China, but they have joint ventures in Australia. They have joint ventures in Argentina. They're moving, I believe, towards being the largest lithium producer in the world. So yes, we've joint ventured with a great partner who will assist us significantly in developing the project and mitigating some of the risks that generally occur when a small company tries to build a large project.
Mm. And then the other aspect of this is the lithium market itself. Lithium equities started moving up quite strongly towards the second half of last year, and we've recently seen data from strong price rises out of China. So how do you expect the market to perform over the next 2 years whilst you're in construction?
Well, I think the impact of COVID has been twofold. One is it's made people think more about the environment. And the second thing is it's made governments think more about a zero emission target. So I think you're seeing people accelerate the push towards electric vehicles. I think you're seeing countries increase their focus on renewable energy. There's obviously a new government in the US, and they will focus very strongly on that renewable energy space. So I think you're going to see demand increase significantly over the next 3 to 5 years. Obviously, the Europeans are now moving very strongly down the path of electrification, both on renewable energy and EVs. I mean, EV sales in Germany, I believe, were almost 40% of all sales for the last month of last year and the first month of this year. So you're seeing a big push in Europe towards zero emission. Obviously, China is still the biggest EV market, and they're very strongly pushing the EV story and the renewable story. You're seeing a bit of resurgence in the demand for lithium carbonate, very much driven by LFP technology, battery technology. So I think you're going to see strong demand for lithium carbonate, increasing demand for lithium hydroxide, and pricing currently sitting around the $10,000 per ton. I think moving very strongly higher over the next 3 to 5 years as demand starts to outsource and outpace supply. And as you say, there's not many new projects being built. Well, there's one being built and commissioned in Argentina this year. We believe we're the next project going into construction in the lithium space. So we want to be the next lithium producer starting in 2023.
And it seems to be that lift in LFP demand has really started this price rise, and that really feeds into that carbonate versus hydroxide debate, because LFP was thought to be that it was going to be a redundant technology by today, about 2 years ago, and with that, people expected hydroxide to be the dominant force within a few years. So how's Sonora positioned for that competition?
I mean, we are very much focused on what the market needs. So our plan is to focus on whatever commodity and whatever product suite that the market requires. We have done both products in Sonora. We've done both hydroxide and carbonate. So the plan is to build a plant that's flexible and will react to market demand. As you say, LFP demand in China has increased significantly because now automotive makers can see that you can get a charging range of 400 to 500 kilometers out of an LFP cathode. That was always thought to be the domain of the high density hydroxide cathodes. So I guess I think people will now focus on price, they'll focus on charging times, and they'll focus on charging distances. And I think LFP will compete very strongly with the hydroxide market. So I think you're going to see strong demand for carbonate, increasing demand for hydroxide, and we want to be able to supply both of those markets.
And because China changed the rules in May last year, which is what sparked this LFP resurgence, demanding higher safety standards to stop thermal runaway, which was too expensive to change NMC batteries to reflect that. But now you're seeing that technology being imported into Europe. Tesla are making vehicles in China with LFP batteries, but they're now importing them into Europe to satisfy their sales demand here.
Yes, I mean, LFP will now become a global cathode rather than just a China-based product. So I think you're going to see increasing demand across the board for carbonate. And still the Europeans and the North Americans still very much focused on the hydroxide, but looking at LFP technology, if it can provide a cheaper cathode, if it can provide a similar driving distance, and if it can provide a similar charging time. So I think it'll be each automotive OEM will look at what their customer base is looking for and base their selection on price and availability and reliability.
Fantastic. Well, clearly the outlook for the market is pretty exciting, and now you're de-risked in terms of funding. Bacanora is probably quite a good way to play that lithium sentiment. So perhaps you could just summarize the the investment case for Bacanora, and we'll wrap up.
Well, we have a world-class deposit in terms of size. It's almost 9 million tons of lithium in the ground, one of the larger deposits in the world. Very scalable. So we're going to start at a 20,000 ton a year equivalent basis, but we could easily expand to 50 or larger 1,000 tons a year. We sit at the bottom end of the cost curve. We can produce lithium for around $4,000 a ton, 250-year project, very strong partner in Ganfeng, and a timetable that will have us producing lithium by mid-2023.
Brilliant. Well, Peter, good luck and thank you very much.
Ollie, thanks very much indeed.